Welcome to this video, dear learners. Our topic for today in chemistry, it's elements, compounds, and mixtures. Okay, so elements, compounds, and mixtures, this is what defines to us or gives us an understanding what we call the language. Okay, the language of chemistry. So this is where you have to understand chemistry, because everything that will be discussed, okay, everything that will be discussed after this topic, if you don't understand this one, it will be very difficult for you. Okay, so under languages of chemistry, we're going to look at several things that you have to really put an effort for you to understand. Okay, so you need to understand this, because if you want your chemistry to be exciting as we go on and learn, we have to know. Okay, so if you want your chemistry to go well, we have to understand and know the language. Okay, the language. Everything has got its own language. Mathematics has got its own language. Physics, it has got its own language. Okay, so even chemistry, it has its own language. Okay, a language, a way of communication. Okay, a way of communication. So the first thing we're going to look at under languages of chemistry, we know chemistry involves a lot of things. Okay, but we're going to look at it. We have what we call physical. Okay, we have what we call a physical change. We have what we call a physical change. Okay, that's the first thing we'll look at. Okay, a physical change. Okay, so a physical change, this is a change, okay, in which there's no new substance formed. Okay, this is a change, okay, a change in which there's no new substance formed. Okay, so what you should know here on physical change is that no new substance is formed. No new substance is formed. That's the definition. So you say a change in which no new substance is formed. That is what a physical change simply means. Okay, and example here, you put water in a fridge. This water at some point is going to become ice. Okay, and this process, it's called freezing. Okay, the process is called freezing. So freezing is where a liquid, so water is a liquid. Okay, water is a liquid. Okay, water is a liquid. So this liquid is going to change into ice, which is solid. Okay, now this change is called a physical change. Why is it a physical change? This is because this ice, okay, it's simply water that has been freezed. Okay, and hence it can go back to become water again. Okay, and the process will be called melting. So the changes of states, okay, so this is just changes of states. Okay, so all changes of state, okay, all changes of states, okay, are, okay, all changes of state are physical changes, like we saw when we looked at the changes of state. So if you haven't watched that video, you can simply go back to my YouTube channel and watch the video on physical changes. So all physical changes are, all changes of state are physical changes. Okay, and we've given an example. So we've said no new substance is formed. Okay, so we call this as a physical change. Okay, it's called a physical change. Apart from a physical change, we have, apart from a physical change, okay, apart from a physical change, we have also what we call a chemical change. Chemical change. So chemical change here, what you should know is that a new substance is formed. Okay, a new substance is formed. Okay, forgot to put substance here. A new substance is formed. Okay, a new substance is formed, and we call this type of change. So a change in which a new substance is formed is called a chemical change. Okay, a chemical change. Let's look at this. Let's say you get a piece of paper and you heat it up. Okay, you heat up this paper. Okay, after some point you find that this paper will burn. Okay, process is called burning. The process is called burning. So this paper will burn, and after this paper burns, it becomes ash. Okay, becomes ash. Now this ash, okay, it's a new substance. A new substance that is completely different from paper. And if you were to try and take back the ash, okay, if you try to take back the ash back to the paper, it won't be possible. Okay, it won't be possible by any physical means. Okay, it won't be possible by any physical means. Okay, so the differences here that we can look at is that this is going to involve, okay, all chemical changes involve energy, okay, involve energy either absorbed or given out. Okay, they involve energy either absorbed or the energy is given out. Okay, or the energy is given out. So those are the two types of changes we have. Okay, so a physical change, a change in which a new substance is formed, for example water to ice. Okay, and we have a chemical change, for example where paper changes to ash. Okay, where the paper changes to what? To ash. So now these chemical changes, they are the ones that we'll look at a lot. Okay, chemical changes. So chemical changes, they involve chemical reactions, and this is why chemistry starts from chemical reactions. That is what chemistry is all about. Okay, so all chemical changes involve chemical reactions. Okay, it involves the chemical reactions. Okay, chemical reactions, and one chemical reaction you can think of here is where magnesium, if it reacts, so the plus sign simply means reacting, reacts with oxygen, a complete new substance is formed called magnesium what? Oxide. Okay, so all these are chemical changes, and these are called chemical what? Chemical reactions. Okay, it's just an example. So when we look at chemical reactions, just know that we're talking about chemical changes. Okay, we're talking about chemical changes. Okay, now We said our topic is what? Elements, compounds, and mixtures. So we're just giving out the language of chemistry, okay? The language that we'll be using as we go on studying chemistry. So let's look at elements, okay? Let's look at elements. So elements, okay? Elements, okay? So elements, okay? An element is a pure substance, okay, that cannot be split into two or more substances by physical means, okay? So an element is simply a substance, a pure substance, okay? So an element is a pure substance, and you cannot split it into two or more substances, okay? So examples of elements, okay? Examples of elements, okay? Examples of elements. You have, we are going to say everything on the periodic table. Anything on the periodic table is an element, okay? Everything on the periodic table is an element, okay? So if you want to give me examples of elements, just go on the periodic table and give me any element, okay? Any element on the periodic table, okay? Said everything on the periodic table is an element, okay? So go over to your periodic table and check, okay? Everything there is simply an element, okay? So now elements can, okay, elements can exist as atoms or as molecules, and we'll look at what atoms and molecules are, okay? We'll look at what atoms and molecules are. So the key word about an element, okay? We'll give you an example, hydrogen, oxygen, all these are on the periodic table. All these are elements, okay? All these are simply elements, okay? That is what an element is, a pure substance that cannot be split into two or more substances by physical means, okay? By physical means, not only physical means, okay? So by physical means or chemical means, you can't split it by physical or chemical means. That's the definition for an element. That's the definition for an element, okay? So now let's look at a compound, okay? A compound. So from here on now, you understand what an element is, right? So when I say element in chemistry, you know what an element is, right? So let's look at a compound. So a compound in chemistry, okay, this is a substance which contains two or more elements, okay? Okay, this is a substance, the substance which contains, okay, two or or more elements. So we know what an element is, eh? So now a compound will contain 2 or more elements, okay, which are chemically combined in fixed ratios. That's the key word. They are chemically combined in fixed ratios. That is what a compound is, eh? So it is a combination, okay? It is made up of 2 or more elements. 2 or more elements, okay? 2 or more elements, okay? For example, look at this example I gave you here, okay? So look at this example that I gave you of a chemical change. So this magnesium you're seeing here is an element. This oxygen you're seeing here is an element. So when these 2 elements are combined, they form the magnesium oxide. So the combination of 2 elements or more will form a compound. So this magnesium oxide is a compound, okay? This magnesium oxide is a compound. So a compound will be made up of 2 or more elements combined. So they are combined chemically because this is a chemical reaction that is taking place. That's why we say they are combined chemically, okay? It's a chemical reaction, okay? So magnesium is an element, oxygen is an element. When these 2 elements are formed, they make magnesium oxide, which is a compound. Okay? Hence the definition for a compound, we say it's a substance which contains 2 or more elements which are chemically combined. And the example, we are going to give the same example, magnesium oxide, okay? Magnesium oxide. And we know magnesium oxide, how is it formed? When you combine magnesium and oxygen, those 2 elements, you get magnesium oxide, and they are chemically combined in fixed ratios, in fixed ratios, okay? So what we are talking about here is that magnesium, which is an element, plus oxygen, which is an element, these make magnesium oxide, okay? Magnesium oxide, which is a compound, okay? Which is a compound. So this is element, this is also element, but this is a compound. So I'm sure you cannot fail to answer what a compound is, okay? What a compound is. So you find that this compound here, it has got different properties. Compared to these 2, okay? So a compound will have different properties from its constituents. So these guys are simply combined, okay? They are combined. They are in this magnesium oxide combined together, but the properties are different. The properties are simply different, okay? Properties are simply different. Okay, so let's look at a mixture now. Okay, let's look at a mixture. A mixture is interesting because a mixture, we do this in our everyday lives, okay? We are always doing mixing. So mixture simply comes from the word mix, okay? And we all know what to mix is, okay? We all know what to mix is, okay? So a mixture, okay? Example here, if you get sugar Okay, this is a cup, you add sugar, and then you add water. You're going to get this. Okay, this we call sugar solution, locally known Zigolo. Okay, what we call Zigolo, what we drink. Okay, Zigolo is a solution. It's a drink we take, and it tastes well when you take it with fritters. Okay, so sugar solution. So this is a mixture. Okay, this is an example of a mixture. So when you're making Zigolo, just know that what you're doing there is chemistry. Okay, it is chemistry. So now what is a mixture? Okay, what is a mixture now? So a mixture, okay, we're going to say it consists of, okay, two or more substances, mixed together by physical means. Okay, these substances are just mixed together. For example, you've just mixed sugar and water, nothing more, right? Nothing more. Okay, they are mixed together by physical means. Okay, and they can be separated by physical methods. So that's another important thing to know. A mixture, you can separate it. Okay, so this sugar solution, you can separate sugar and water by just physical means. Okay, by just physical means. Another good example of a mixture is if, let's say, you take water plus sand. So when you mix water and sand, the sand will settle here at the bottom. This is sand, and here you're going to have what? Water. Okay, so a mixture of sand and water is an example of a mixture. Okay, an example of a mixture. Okay, so in chemistry we have three important things. Okay, and we've looked at them separately. Okay, the first, we said we've got elements, compounds, and mixtures. I hope now you understand what each of these are. Elements, everything on the periodic table is an element. Compounds are formed when you mix elements together. When you combine elements together, you form compounds. But mixtures, these are simply formed by mixing two substances together by physical means. Okay, so now our job now is to try and find out what are the differences. Okay, what are the differences between, okay, the differences between a mixture. Okay, the differences between a mixture and a compound. What are the differences? Okay, what are the differences between a mixture and a compound? The differences between a mixture and a compound. Okay, so a mixture and a compound, here a mixture is formed, okay, by what? Physical means. But a compound is formed by a chemical, you can say chemical method. Okay, it involves a chemical reaction, but this one It's physical means. You are just mixing. Now here you are going to involve a chemical reaction to take place when forming a compound. Okay, you're going to involve a chemical reaction. A mixture can be easily separated, okay, by physical means. Can easily be separated by physical means, but a compound, okay, cannot be easily separated, okay, cannot be easily be separated by physical means. So you need to do another chemical reaction to separate them by physical means. Okay, those are the differences. Okay, those are the differences. Okay, so the other differences, okay, I'll leave this as a homework for you to find the other differences, which are two differences. Other two differences between a mixture and a compound, right? The other two differences between a mixture and a compound. Also, the differences, okay, between a physical, what we looked at first time, physical change, and a chemical change. Also find the differences. A new substance is not formed, here a new substance is formed. Okay, then find the other two, the other three differences between a physical and a chemical change. Okay, so this is the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed. Okay, so if you're new to the channel, please click on the subscribe button for more of such videos. And if you would like to start tuitions with us, okay, we conduct tuitions online. You can simply use this number to communicate with us. Okay, we offer tuitions online. Just communicate 0974 6562 39. Okay, this is the number that you can use to communicate with us if you want to have private tuitions online with us.